Hey everyone, it's Kenlin, and welcome to this week's astrology energy report for the week of the 23rd of June. And there's not a lot going on, except there's a lot going on, and it's happening because of this full moon. So I want to unpack 5 things, and let's do a little mudra at the end to really anchor in the teachings of what is happening. So the first thing I want to share is that we are in the Cancer sun, and this Cancer sun is beckoning us to go inward and to be quiet and to self-nourish. Now we get to remember that as Capricorn is going to invite us to continue along our path of our outer expression, what we're really here to do, our calling, the work and the impact we want to make in the world. So we said last week, this is a both and. So let's keep that in mind as we cross the threshold of the summer solstice in the northern hemisphere and the winter solstice in the southern hemisphere. We've crossed into a new cycle. And this is the cycle that begins our calendar year. It's the opposite of the cycle that begins our calendar year, because we begin it in Capricorn. And so we are on that axis point, and this is the midway point. And what will happen next in the next part of the year is totally different than what's going to happen that happened in the first part of the year. So this is a bridge. This Cancer sun is a bridge. And even these 2 moons in Capricorn are also a bridge. So I want to invite you to think of it that way. I think there's also a piece where if you're feeling unmotivated and tired, and just like, I just want to relax, that there's that beckoning of your body to do that, then follow it. It doesn't mean that you give up your impact and your goals. It's a both and. And I think that's the yoga that's being asked of us as we take on the teachings of the Cancer Capricorn axes. So if you look at the zodiac and Capricorn, Cancer coming after Gemini, it makes a lot of sense that our bodies want to slow down right now. And that could just be because it's either hot where you are and you are in the northern hemisphere, or it could be that it's like inward. It's dark where you are because you're in the southern hemisphere. But either way, there's a beckoning inward of this Cancer mansion that invented self-care. And there's no accident that it came after this really extroverted stellium in Gemini. And I think even it started in April with the solar eclipse in Aries. It was just like go time. So realizing that we have been, since January 1st, really, we haven't had a lot of retrograding planets. We've been super going for it, up-leveling ourselves, getting the up-level. Remember a couple of weeks ago, I said, this is graduation time, and there's big up-levels that happened. And now we're in this transition to the second part of the year, which is a massive slowdown, because almost every planet will go retrograde. Not all, like Venus won't, but everybody else will be retrograde at some point, and some longer than others. And then we have, in September to November, we have Pluto going into Capricorn, retrograding back into Capricorn, and then moving direct back through Capricorn. So we do have a lot of Capricorn energy. So those are the highlights. And then let's get into the granularity of these 5 things. First of all, it's a lunar reset. I love this. This came through from Molly McCord, astrologer, and she was mentioning, and I remember this exactly, last year during March and April, we had 2 new moons in Aries. And those new moons like reverse the order. Remember, we have 13 moons. And so there's always some play of what moon is going to tip the scales in a certain direction. And that happened in March, April of last year. We had what she calls a lunar reversal. Really interesting. So I love that concept. I think if I tune into what that feels like for me, is that things are not as they seem and they are undoing themselves. It's almost like when you're juicing. Have you ever done this? You're juicing, and I have an omega, so it grinds the things up, and then it gets stuck, especially if you use cucumbers. So you have to reverse it to let the water flow, let the juice flow, and then you can forward it again. So it feels similar to that. This Capricorn full moon that we just had and the one coming is our lunar reset. So really interesting to think of it like that. So what are we resetting? That's one of the questions I'm going to pose, and we can dive into that. So I also want to name that this full moon that was activated last week and the one that will be activated in 1 month, we're kind of in this portal. I'm not going to call it a wormhole because that I want to reserve for our eclipses, but we're in a portal because we're going to go from 1 degree of Capricorn to 29 degree. We're going to go the full sign, and we have the sun lighting the moon. So our conscious awareness is fully lit. So something is being revealed that maybe was not just hidden, like as in scorpionic secrets, but we just didn't get it. And we didn't get it because we didn't have enough information. We had to walk the paces. And now we're at that moment of walking the paces, and we're now seeing something different. And I think that this is where the up level comes in. We've received the up level, and there's a few messages we want to tell ourselves. So I'm going to get to that in a second. Between that 1 degree and the 29 degrees, we're going to receive clarity. Now, remember, we're talking about Capricorn, so it does want you to move up the mountain. It was so cool. On the full moon, I was hiking to this outcrop where I always hike and I do my practices, but it was right around the time that it was direct. And I was sitting on this rock and I was like, oh yeah, the full moon is direct right now. And then I realized I'm sitting on a rock at the top of a mountain. This is where you embody the cycles of the moon. Like, I didn't really consciously think, what would Capricorn like? Oh, it would like to climb like a goat to the top of a hill, and it would like to sit on a rock, Earth. So there I was, receiving the codes of Capricorn as my body, my embodiment was doing the thing. So the more that you tune in, the more you're naturally going to just want to do the thing. Like, why do I feel like jumping in water? Oh, it's a Pisces full moon. I don't know. It's just going to be those kinds of things that happen. So I'm going to say that we're in a very auspicious time where we're given the opportunity to really pay attention to this sign in our chart that has gotten worked to the core, right? Capricorn, remember, from 2020 onward, Capricorn has been worked. Pluto was in there digging things up. And because of the transits, it was lighting up other parts of your chart. Not all transits are important for everyone, but the ones that are important in your chart, you definitely got the teaching. So, whatever house Capricorn occupies in your chart, that may be like the impetus. For me, it's about beliefs. It's about my higher learning. But that has had ripple effects into other areas that are more noticeable. But I could see it as the hub, the focal point, the center of what happened. And then out of there springs all these other changes, because nothing is in a vacuum. The houses don't live in a vacuum. They are all connected to the story of us. So I think that this is a really important period, this next month until the 21st of July. And then Pluto retrograde will be conjunct that full moon. So we're really going to get the upgrade. We're going to get the teaching. The Pluto retrograde is conjunct that full moon. And conjunctions are powerful. They operate as one. So we have the power of Pluto, even though in its retrograde, bringing forth something internal, something deep for you to get clear on, and you will never be the same. That's the promise of Pluto. You will never be the same. And you're already not. But see how fast we're moving? Because, when the astrology is like this, this is quantum. This is how we're moving so fast. When there aren't these kinds of oppositions and angles and conjunctions, then we are more subjected to kind of plodding along the linear time. But these things are powerful, and they're causing and creating change like really no other time in history. So I'm going to say that Capricorn is experiencing, this is the third thing. So the first thing was the lunar reset. The second thing is this portal that Pluto will support in receiving your clarity. The third thing is Capricorn. I mentioned that briefly, that you're experiencing an extreme transformation in that area of your chart, which I'm now saying has ripple effects to every area of your chart. And here we go. September, October, and most of November, Pluto will be in Capricorn. It's retrograding back into Capricorn. So it's like, here it is. It's going to go back over to the 29-degree point of the end of Capricorn. And it's going to revisit, what did you get? What else needs to go? That's that point, that 29-degree point, that conclusion point. And then it's going to turn direct, still in Capricorn, and move forward back to 0 degrees of Aquarius. So we've had several passes at this 0-degree point. Remember, it started in January, and then we had another one when it's retrograding, like right now, and then it goes into 29 degrees by September, and then it goes back over the 0-degree point. Having these like start and, okay, did you get it? Now, are you ready? Because here's what happens. By the end of this year and into 2025, so we have some retrogrades in January and February of 2025, and then we have an experience of planets moving direct and changing signs. So this is where Pluto goes into Aquarius, never to go back to Capricorn in our lifetime. So we really need to have gotten the lesson. And here is the moment, I get chills saying that, have we learned the lesson? And you don't have to go seek it. It's right there. Like the full moon is lit. It's not a secret. It's right there. So just notice what has been a part of your upgrade. I'm very clear about the conversations that I'm in and the interactions in the world, and where like the Evolving Sisters network is going. It's expanding, and new things are coming forward. I'm seeing the map, and I know that in 1 month I will really see the map. Okay, so we already know number 3 was Capricorn, an extreme transformation. Number 4, okay, so this Capricorn and Cancer axes is really asking you, can you claim that you are worthy of the up level that you have received? Are you ready to take it into action? Do you really, I'm not even going to say, do you feel worthy, because it's not really waiting for your feelings. It's asking you, are you choosing worthiness? And then your feelings will follow when you choose that I am worthy to receive the up level. Because the thing that keeps us in that glass ceiling tamped down is that we really don't feel worthy. Or let's say we don't want the responsibility of an expanded life, because it's a both and always. So this is giving you reassessment of your energies. Where have you been putting your energies that you now know isn't going anywhere? It isn't the thing. As great of an idea as it was, it's not the thing. It's actually over here. I have been doing so much of that. As I up level and educate myself, I realize that my impulses to create certain things are beautiful. And without the understanding of what the market space wants, and this is what we're doing in the Creators Academy, there's a mismatch. And there's only so long that I are willing to create things that don't go anywhere. Like someone was telling me the other day that they're going to write a book. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, books do not make money unless, you're published by Hay House, and Hay House is not going to publish you unless you have already thousands and thousands of followers. So there are circumstances, but for the majority of people, books are not money-making ventures, not adventures, ventures. They do serve purposes. And I know that when we've been called to write a book, I've co-written 3 of them, written 1 and co-written 2 others, that we're just going to do that. It's just there for us to do. And there's a both and here. There's a way to write a book because you have to, but in a way that sets you up as an expert in that field, in that conversation, let's say, and invites people into next steps, which does ultimately benefit your business. But other than that, you're going to take a year out of your time. You're going to have a book and it's going to be great. And then it's nothing. And the time that we need to market something on the other end, by that time, we're pretty exhausted after we've gone through the creation and implementation. And I know that because I do this all the time. And when you don't have energy or Shakti for the marketing on the other side, then your creations just sit on a shelf. So I hate to say that, that's all like kind of brutal, but by now this is the Capricorn energy. It's like, stop doing things just because you want to. Do things that are going to advance your business. And this is what we talk about in Creators Academy, because the digital economy is going to double. That's the prediction. And it's a multi-trillion-dollar industry, and women make up 64%. So there's no reason why you can't be in it. But if you don't play the game right, then it's just a lot of cool creations without a lot of results. And remember, we're in this Capricorn mansion and it likes to climb the mountain. It wants to get at the top of that peak. Otherwise, Capricorn's not satisfied, because that's what it's here to do. Okay, so that's number 4, the up level, the new decisions, the realignments. Am I worthy of my new goals? Am I worthy of my new goals? Am I worthy of the up level that I received? That's up to you to decide, not to feel into, to decide. All right. And then the 5th and final thing that we want to share today is that on June 26th, we have Mercury trining Saturn in Pisces. And this is where we're going to receive some clarity and maybe an intuitional knowing. And this question gets answered is, what is right for me personally? And that's, I think, the theme, especially if we put it in the context of the North Node in Aries. We're leaving behind other people's opinions. And I want to be really careful about how I say this, because there's a nuance here. And if you are just swinging the pendulum where you listen to everyone, and I have friends who used to do that, right? And then you swing to the pendulum and you're listening to no one, that's part of your growth. You will ultimately come back to this center, right? And you can see like a pendulum, it comes back into the center where we receive feedback. We listen to the market space. We train ourselves. We make declarations around where we're headed. And they're influenced by others supporting us in doing that. But there's no one who will walk the path that you're here to walk other than you. So it is a both and. I have advisors that I know to count on in certain conversations. I know which question to ask to whom. Not every question gets asked to everyone. It's just not in their expertise. It's not in their realm. And so that's part of the genius. That's part of the discernment of knowing who to ask, whose feedback to receive. But ultimately, and I'm going to say, and ultimately, because it's definitely to do that. And ultimately, the choice is always yours. So this is an energy of not giving away your power, but it's also an energy that you don't know everything and you're not here to know everything. We have a community and we're here to source the expertises of communities, paying for it. Sometimes we have friends who will just tell us the answer. And then we have to hire people to do the thing. That's part of this journey up the mountain for Capricorn. No matter where it is in your chart, because again, these things in our chart produce a shift on the inside that radiates to every area of our life, to our expression, to our reputation, to our impact. So that's all I want to say for this week. It's a powerful week of reassessment. And let's do a little mudra. This is something you can practice in your meditation. And I like it where the left hand is going to be on the wrist area of the right hand and coming right in front. And in this prayer mudra, we're asking for an assessment on a soul level, on a spiritual level. And we don't need to do it with our minds. We can allow our higher self to assess the situation. And in this place, to realign us with our new up-leveled goals, our up-leveling that we've received, and the worthiness that we're here to claim. Thank you for joining in, and may all beings benefit from the merits of our efforts.